Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I am joined tonight by a very special guest, someone I'm very happy to speak to and to have you guys hear me talk to, and that would be none other than Jeffrey Landman, aka Billy Hill from my first love, Halloween 5. How are you, Jeffrey?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Aside from the gloomy, crappy Ohio weather, I'm doing fine.
Where in Ohio are you?
So I'm right outside of the Dayton area, Centerville, Kettering type area.
I've
Um,
been to Dayton, in fact.
okay, yeah. So yeah, well, it's June hits. Ohio doesn't really get the memo, and it takes a while for us to warm up. So
Uh, Hopefully
but
soon.
so first and foremost, I just wanted to say hello, and I wanted to give everyone the opportunity to know exactly who I'm talking to, guys. This is Billy. Everybody knows Billy from Halloween 5. The Stutter, the Tower Farm, you name it.
The baby is very excited.
Yes, he's very excited to hear from Jeffrey Landman. Go watch your show, William. Jeffrey, first and foremost, I want to ask you, how did you get started into the world of acting?
I always wanted to, as far as I can remember, and as far as anyone in my family can remember. I was always doing shows at, the local community center when I was a kid. And at about 10 years old, I I don't know if I sort of wore my mother down or she took me to my first audition thinking I would not get it and be devastated and give up this dream. And I got a call back, and that was for the new Mickey Mouse Club on the Disney Channel, the very first version of that. And I didn't get it, but from that callback, I got my first agent, sent me on my first audition, which was a Broadway show, the show Les Mis on Broadway, which I booked. And while I was doing that, they sent me on the audition for Halloween. All very, very fast. And it does not happen that way. And that is not normal, but that's what happened to me.
Okay, yeah. So then was Halloween 5 your first feature film role?
Halloween 5 was my second job ever, my first feature film role, my first time ever on any sort of film set. The first day that I was in Salt Lake for about a week or so before I personally started filming. But the first day they were shooting, I was not, I had no scenes that day, but I went to set to sort of hang out. And I remember the scene was they were shooting. It's when Sammy and Tina have just come to the house and they don't find Rachel and they're leaving and they're talking about, we're still going to have the party, without Rachel this weekend. And we were all outside, but they were shooting from inside the kitchen. Like the camera was inside the kitchen shooting out into the backyard as the girls were leaving. And so since I never saw the camera, I had no idea how it worked. Like I didn't know where the camera was. I didn't know that there were like 30 people inside the house making it work. I just thought, I don't even know what I thought. I was very not even confused. I was just like, oh, okay, this is how it is. And I just never occurred to me to be like, there might be a camera inside the house. I was very much that green and that inexperienced when we started filming.
Yeah. So take me back for your first day on set. Do you remember the first scene where you were in front of a camera and they were like, all right, Jeffrey, you go get him? What was that?
Well, it was cut.
Okay.
In the original script and in the original shooting version, we shot a lot more of Billy during the day outside of the clinic. So you sort of established that Billy was not a patient of the clinic. So the first scene I shot was at Jamie's house, basically the scene right before what I just described. So there was a scene, I'm trying to put it in place in the movie. So in the movie, Jamie and Tina and Wendy are walking home from the clinic, and the dog starts barking, and they end up. The audience finds out that Michael is in the bushes in front of the Carruthers house, and there was a scene in between that showed me and Max, and at that time Billy was still a BMX bike racer. So it was a 4-hour, it was a like all day shoot for like a 1-minute scene because I was supposed to enter driving down the street on a bicycle, stop at a specific point, jump off the bike, grab the dog, run after the girls, and scare them. And we did all that. They ended up day one, they cut the bicycle just because it was turning into a bigger problem than it was worth. And further down the road, the whole car chase scene was supposed to involve the bicycle. So in the spur of the moment, they basically had to decide that they were going to rewrite the entire car chase sequence. So they did, and they ended up cutting out all the bicycle stuff. So that scene, which even if they cut the bicycle stuff later and they had me on a bike in that scene, it wouldn't seem weird. But that entire scene got cut. When I went to see the movie, again, this is how naive and green I was. It never occurred to me that something was going to get cut from the movie. So I saw the scene. I'm in the movie theater. The movie opened that day. I'm watching it for the first time. I see the scene starting in my mind. I'm like, this is it. This is my first scene. Yay. And in the theatrical version, you can still see my head at one point in the bottom of the screen as I'm about to jump up and scare the girls. The technology to digitally remove that wasn't as readily available as it is now. So I saw my head, and then I was like, here we go. And then they cut the scene. And I was like, oh, that's weird. It just never occurred to me that would happen. Then when it came out on VHS, you can still see my head. I have it, one copy on VHS where you can see my head. By the time it went digital and DVD, they had digitally removed my head from that scene. Okay. So I do have a copy where you can still see the top of my head on the bottom of the screen.
Well, I have the VHS, so maybe I should I need to get a VCR. I don't have a VCR.
I have anymore. A VCR just for this, just for reasons that.
Yeah, and that's why I want to get one, because I'm like, I need one, because I have all the films on VHS, and it would just remind me of my childhood. But I will have to look for that. That's crazy. So yeah, how do you feel about them scrapping the whole BMX kind of guy for Billy?
I mean, fine. There was so much going on with Billy already, between the stutter and helping Jamie. And I think it might have made the car chase scene more interesting, but it would have made it much, much more difficult and much more dangerous to film. And it wasn't that safe to begin with in hindsight, which Danielle and I have both spoken about, that was not the safest thing that happened, that car chase sequence. But it was supposed to be that we were on the bike and the car would hit the bike and the bike would flip over the car with us on it. And then the car would back up over the butt. I think we still get the same sort of energy and the same sort of car chase scene without the bicycle. And I think it would have been, because at one point I was going to be riding it while she was standing on the spokes of the wheels behind me. They ended up releasing my stunt double because of that. And Danielle and I ended up sharing a stunt double for a little bit because they didn't think I needed one. And then there were a couple shots here and there I did. Yeah. So I think ultimately it was for the best. It probably would have slowed down production a lot if we kept the bicycle. Yeah. But I the video of they sent me and, like I said, me and Danielle were sent to Salt Lake City a week early before everyone else. And one of the reasons was to get very comfortable on the bicycles. So they bought us bicycles and we would just spend hours a day riding around the hotel.
Did you get to take it home?
It was the outdoor. And I have video of us literally on riding around inside the floors of the hotel. I don't know how that was allowed, but it happened.
Were you able to take that bike after production? No,
I don't even think I kept it once they cut I think they took it back. I don't even remember what happened to the bicycle, but I was living in New Jersey and we shot in Salt Lake. So I was not shipping a bicycle home for any reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I want to say, right off the top, and I've said this many times, there used to be a Halloween message board. It's gone now. I've tried to get in touch with the people that used to run it so we can get it back up. But there was at one point, I want to say there was a Billy Hill thread in Halloween 5, like a Billy Hill appreciation thread.
I read that thread.
And I used to frequent that thread because I always really enjoyed your character. And I don't think Billy ever got his due with a lot of the casual fans, because Billy is very smart and he had a really big heart, and he wanted to make sure Danielle was safe. Like you almost became, everybody says
Mhm.
Tina became the Rachel after Rachel died, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I love Tina as well. I don't care what anybody says. But, you know, Billy was kind of like looking out for Jamie, but he also wanted to get into the nitty gritty of what was going on. You know, like I love the scene where she's going after, she wants to find Tina. And of course, everybody talks about that scene. I'm sure you hear it all the time where it's like, you don't even know where she is. He's like, but I do. So like, hey, why don't we go together? But
I'll
so
tell you,
it
that was the very last thing I shot in the whole movie, that scene.
the Tower Farms, when you said the Tower Farm.
The scene where we bump into each other and I say, you don't even know where she is. And that was actually two separate scenes, but they were shot on the same street corner. So in the moment, it was just decided to just make it one scene where we bump into each other and then I tell her where Tina is. And that was my last day of filming. And, you know, I always loved that Billy, he sort of has no goal except to help Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like that about him. You know, he's very young to be putting himself in these very unsafe situations. And then, you know, in the script, he wasn't even a patient of the clinic, which to me makes it even more like he has another option. He can just go away.
Yeah.
But he chooses to, you know, go back to the clinic and take care of her and help her and go to the farm with her and help all these people. And I agree. I think it's very noble of him. And I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. But I also think, you know, I got to kiss Jamie. And I think a lot of people were maybe a little jealous of that or you know,
yes, we
were very
were
protective of her. And who wouldn't be after Halloween 4? You know, she had a lot riding on, or rather the people had a lot riding on that character and were very protective of her and maybe got a little jealous that Billy got a kiss.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
I don't know.
hey, no, as a kid, you're watching and you're like, oh man, he's so lucky. Like, so I totally get what you're talking about. When it comes to, okay, so Billy didn't die. Okay. Billy survived, but Billy was Billy initially supposed to die? But Billy was supposed to get hit by the car, right?
There's a scene in the script that shows him alive at the end.
Okay.
When the cops all go to the clinic to when Jamie says Billy and all the cops go to the clinic, I was supposed to be in that scene showing me alive at the end. And they had released me from filming before they shot that.
Oh, wow.
So they shot the scene without me. So you never find out if I'm alive or not. But I like to say the last time you saw me was alive. You never see me dead. The script intended for me to be alive. And from what I have gathered from the fandom, the fans have sort of agreed with me that Billy is probably still alive.
Yeah. So, guys, this is Jeffrey Landman telling you Billy is back and Halloween kills. No, I'm totally.
I wish. I say bring Billy back.
He's alive. He's alive.
I think I'm one of someone told me a couple of years ago that I am one of 2, I believe, main characters that never died.
Yeah, there aren't a lot. There's like,
and if you survive one, you probably end up dying in the next movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm one of the few that has never been actually killed.
Well, I've got to pick your brain a little bit. I know my subscribers are going to want to know this, and I'm sure you get asked this all the time.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, Jeffrey, how was it to work with Danielle Harris, and do you guys still communicate today? What was that like, that experience working with her? Because, you know, she was like the star of Halloween 4. Right. So what was that like for you being around her age and on set with her and then after the film?
You know, I had no experience going into this and I knew nothing. I didn't even know what Halloween was about, truth be told. When I booked the movie, my mother and I went to the video store and rented Halloween 3 because that was the most recent one in the video store. And we were very confused, obviously. Yeah. And then, you know, I was 11 years old. I'd never seen a Halloween movie. Then when we arrived in Salt Lake and the first night we met Danielle and her family, and Danielle had a copy of Halloween 4. So we watched that and then things started to make a little more sense. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we spent obviously we spent that whole first week together, just the two of us, between tutoring, and we were meeting the bicycle riding, and we were meeting with a couple speech pathologists to work on the stuttering and the sign language and all of that. So we spent that first week together a lot, and she was wonderfully helpful to me in preparing me for what filming a movie was going to be. And then once we started filming, we spent a little less time together because she obviously was carrying the whole movie on her back and I was not. But she was always very wonderful to me in terms of making sure that I knew what was going on, not in a obnoxious way, in a, I'm a little more of a veteran at this than you are, and was very, very kind in, making sure that nothing was getting past me in terms of what I should be doing. I had a great time working with her. I think especially I was a little too young to understand it at the time, but going back and looking at the movies again, I'm really blown away by her performance, especially in 4 and 5, and how I think it's a remarkable child actor performance. And I don't think she gets enough credit for what she did in those movies, especially having been, I think she was 9 when she made Halloween 4, or maybe she was 10 and 11.
Yeah, she had her 11th birthday on set of 4, and then her 12th birthday on set.
Okay, and I had my 11th birthday on the set of 5. So so she's 1 year older than me. So to be that young and carrying such an iconic franchise and bringing it back to life, there was so much pressure on her, and I don't even think she felt it as much as I think everyone else felt it. Mm-hmm. So we had a really good time. I look back on my time filming that movie really, really fondly. Everyone was really, really wonderful to both of us. We lost touch after the movie, after we finished filming. It was, pre-internet, pre-Facebook, anything. We've stayed in touch a little bit. We see each other at cons. I've run into her a couple times. We sort of live near each other in Los Angeles. We actually just had a nice conversation about a week ago. I bought a new house. So she complimented me. We started chatting about some stuff back and forth. Like I said, I see her at cons. I see her around. And it's always just, we have this connection. I think anyone who's been in a horror movie, especially one of the ones that is what I consider one of the major franchises, and then you look especially at a Halloween movie, which we're up to. What is the new one? That's number 12.
Kills will be 12, yeah.
12, and then 13 is planned already. Mm-hmm. So I don't know of any other franchise outside of like the Marvel or the Star Wars that has that many movies. Mm-hmm. And it is a full-on community, especially with the people that were in your movie, because you're just bound for life. When I bought my house, Wendy Kaplan, again, sent me a message like Danielle saying, congratulations, Tamra, Matt Walker. Like we see each other randomly, but we know that we all have this connection that we're going to have forever. And that's really special. And, there's not a lot of people in the world that know what it's like to have been a child in a somewhat iconic horror movie. And
yeah, well, I mean, I don't care and there's a question that I'm going to get to about kind of what you were talking, kind of how you framed what you just said there, because I had a couple questions from some subscribers for you. But what I wanted to say, about that is like, I think that it unfairly, I guess I'll just ask the question now since we're kind of on the topic. One of my subscribers, Jeffrey, wanted to know how you felt about how the film was received initially. Like
all the time.
Yeah.
It was a different time. And I don't mean that in a way like to sound dismissive about it. When you go back, because I've just started going back a couple years ago and I watched all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all the I didn't do the Friday the 13th. I started them, but I probably should. And rewatching them and sort of getting that perspective of because Nightmare 5 came out the same year, came out in 1989. Mm-hmm. So comparing what we now look back on as the 5th movie in the 80s of let's just say it, a schlocky horror film at the time. That's what it didn't, It didn't have then what it has now, any of those movies. So when
Yep.
you go back and look, I think Halloween 5 is exactly what the 5th movie in a franchise in 1989 was. It's a little campy. It's not as scary as it would be now, actually scary. It's a little more campy and bloody, and there's a lot more jump scares in Halloween 5 than I think people remember. There's a lot less blood and more of a jump scare. And you know what? It was a product of its time. It filled the assignment, and I'm proud to have been a part of it.
And you should be.
That said, it's weird. It's very interesting being part of the Halloween franchise specifically because there are so many different mythologies in the timeline. I think I've seen charts. I think there's 7 different timelines you can watch or something like that.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. So, and then I actually just the other day saw a DVD set selling 4, 5, and 6 together as the Loomis storyline. As it's like the Loomis collection. I've never seen that before, framed that way.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. I'm in that version of the mythology. I'm in the Loomis multiverse, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's how I'm going to start framing it. It's
yeah,
a
just say that because you know what?
That's what it is.
That's a revered timeline. Everybody wants them to go back and revisit the Jamie Lloyd timeline. So,
and I think they should. I think there is a timeline there that can be reinvestigated. But you know what? Whenever this question comes up about, and sort of off topic what you asked, but it's there, of the different timelines and how do I feel that my storyline no longer, is in the main Halloween. You know what? We're on movie 12. Anything that keeps the fans interested and keeps the franchise alive, I'm never going to have a problem with. I would not be sitting here talking about this with you if Halloween 2018 didn't happen. Yeah. I would do maybe the last couple of years, I would do 1 interview a year. Since the new one came out, I'm doing maybe 1 a month. And that's amazing. It's something I did 32 years ago that wasn't even all that successful at the time in terms of like financial or cultural impact and whatever. And people care so passionately that whatever they want to do with the franchise to keep the franchise alive and to keep Michael Myers in people's minds in any way is good for everyone. It's good for the fans. It's good for us. It's good for, the horror movie genre. So I'm proud to be a part of the storyline I'm in. And I'm proud that storyline, like I said, it's a product of its time, and that's okay, Yeah.
And well, to that, I wanted to say that like I said, I've always maintained that Halloween 5 never gets its due because of whether people complain about the mask or complain about Tina or whatever. Look, Wendy Kaplan was given an assignment, or the house. Wendy Kaplan was given an assignment and she nailed the assignment. You can't even argue that. Like, if you have a problem with how the character was written, that's one thing, but the actress did her job and she did it well. And my thing about Halloween 5 is it was the first one I ever saw. So it's just nostalgic for me. And I've always loved it. But I know that there was a lot on set, and I've heard you talk about, I don't know if it was 25 Years of Terror or if it was another interview that I've heard you talk about that before. And I've heard Danielle talk about that, about how it was a very crazy time. Can you kind of give us an insight to that? Like we've heard there was a lot of partying and there was a lot of rewrites and there was a lot of, Dominique was very specific about things that maybe Mustafa was not so fond of. And can you give us an insight of that?
I'll be honest, the partying I know nothing about.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I heard rumors like everyone did, but I was 11 years old and I was in my hotel room doing a puzzle. Like I didn't know about that. I wasn't a party. Yeah. People would have a barbecue at, someone's house, but in terms of like going out to bars or whatever, I'm sure the crew did that because I'm an adult. I would too.
I would, yeah.
But it's not like I was invited and didn't go. Like no one who would have invited me along to that. I was 11. So I don't know. And I truly don't know anything about that. and some of the, I don't want to say chaos, but the things that maybe other people experienced, I was so new. I didn't know. So to me, when they cut the bicycle stuff, and that was pretty much the biggest chunk of rewriting for me, was most of what was in the script I filmed, except for the bicycle stuff. Everything else I filmed. So it wasn't until I watched the movie later that I was like, oh, everything I thought I knew about Billy is no longer true. And it's been interesting to like reconcile when the fans say things to me. It only exists in the movie that was made. So if fans want to, if you watch the movie, there's no indication that Billy is not a patient.
Mm-hmm.
So Billy's a patient. You know, even though it was not filmed that Billy's a patient, the way the movie was cut makes him look like he was. So when people ask me why I was in the clinic, you know, even though in my mind I wasn't, I technically was. It's kind of Schrodinger's cat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of any strife or conflicts on set, I was really kept out of that, either because of my youth, my inexperience, or I was always in my trailer doing homework. But I think I do think a lot of that was kept away from me because it didn't really affect me in any way.
I guess the way I should have framed it more was that I remember you saying, and you actually said this earlier to me, and Danielle's talked about it.
Then you might spark a memory.
Well, just the one specific scene, the car chase scene, how you said it was not the safest of setups for children.
And I don't blame anyone. And
No,
I always say that, and then I have to put a caveat of like, that said, Danielle and our parents, like our mothers were there. Like we were never in danger, like child welfare danger.
Mm-hmm.
And there were things that in hindsight, like as in my 40s, I'd be like, no, get a stunt double. Like, I'm not doing that. But you have the youthful energy of like, sure, I'll run in a field with a car chasing me. Like that happened. That was not, there were effects that went into that. But when all is said and done, like Danielle and I were in a field and there was a car coming at us. You know, with a stunt driver that we trusted, that was safe there. But I know that after Billy gets run over, and the car continues chasing Danielle, like both her and her stunt double, I think Danielle tripped and her stunt double got caught on a bush, or the other way around. Like there was some situation where like they both were in actual danger. And you know, I wouldn't do that now. And I don't know that you would be allowed to do that now. But, you know, in terms of that, it was a lot of fly by the seat of your pants, especially with the car chase thing, because the entire scope of the chase was changed kind of on the fly when they took out the bicycle.
And I don't know if Wendy did her own stunts, but there is a scene behind the scenes of where
That's
fell.
Her climbing over the fence that the car came through. That was her, and she did get stuck on that. And we were all watching.
Yeah, that was scary. I remember watching that on the behind the scenes, and everyone kind of gasps and they're, you know, is she okay? Like, is everything okay? Because again, you know, danger of doing your own stunts. Like, I get it. If I were an actor, especially being young, I'd be like, I want to do it. I can handle it. But, you know, that's the danger of it. Okay. But if something happens, like, you know, it's scary. It's movie making. Like you said, you know, you weren't in fear for your lives, but it is someone driving a car after you, and there are dangers to that. But
and Don, I mean, I'm sure you've heard the story about Don Shanks when they blew up the car.
And Dominique was so enthralled with the scene that he didn't say cut, and Don Shanks is like, am I going to burn to death?
Being a pro stuntman, you don't stop till they yell cut. And so he didn't. And we were all there watching. And, you know, they called us all, they let us all come to set the day they blew up the car, the day they crashed through most of the stuff at the farm. We were all there every day because every day something cool was happening. So they'd be like, just hang out. We're going to crash through a fence in an hour. Or, you know, we're going to blow up this car.
Oh, go ahead. Finish.
No, I don't know what I was going to say.
No, you're fine. I was just going to ask you, and I'm sure you've been asked this a million times too, but Donald Pleasance, what was he like? I know Danielle speaks very highly of him. Everyone speaks very highly of him. I I know that she said he always smelled like whiskey. I believe that's what she said. But how was it with the scenes? Because you had a scene. This is kind of leads into a question another subscriber of mine had. He said, ask Jeffrey what his quote unquote worst experience was with Donald Pleasance. And I was like, well, I already know the answer to that. It's probably going to be when Donald Pleasance has to shake him, or no, when he's all up in your face.
Like, I didn't. Yeah. He was just a lovely man, and even at that age, I don't know if it was just me being savvy enough to be able to separate what he was doing on camera versus off camera. So any of that stuff he did on camera, I that wasn't negative at all.
Yeah.
But it was also the fact that everyone on set, especially the two Donalds, Pleasance and Shanks, went so out of their way to make sure that Danielle and I were taken care of, in that, you know, this movie had 2 kids on set at all times, plus our standbys. So they really went out of their way to make sure we were taken care of and comfortable and not scared. I know Don Shanks would take off the mask anytime he didn't have to wear it. Wherein maybe if there weren't so many kids around, you might just leave it on between takes because it's easier, you know, versus just taking it off to make sure that we were not scared. Donald Pleasance was just a great man. And I was too young to fully understand who he was. You know, I knew that he had been in all the Halloween movies, and I knew that he was like the figurehead of this series, but I didn't know that he was like a Bond villain and you know, an insanely respected well-known actor. And he would sit at dinner and tell stories, and I just wasn't. I didn't have presence of mind enough at 11 years old to like really pay attention the way I would really pay attention now.
How does it feel now to look back and be like, I did a movie with that guy? Like,
it's great. I mean, it's great, but it's also like, I not only did a movie with that guy, I did a Halloween movie with that guy.
Yeah, you did a Halloween.
And he's only in 5 of them. And, you know, I didn't get my Jamie Lee moment yet, but I have a Donald Pleasance moment and a Danielle Harris moment. So like, even though I'm part of the fringe of the series, I'm still in a Donald Pleasance Halloween movie.
Yeah. And that's a big deal. Don't ever. I mean, I wanted to also ask you, did you keep anything from the film?
I have the costumes. Okay. So I have Billy's daytime outfit, which you only see, I think, once in the movie. And then I have one of the pirate costumes. I think there were 5 made, and I have one of the ones that was not destroyed.
Yeah.
So I have that. I had some like some paper mache pumpkin things that somehow over the years just sort of went away. But the main thing is I have the full costume.
Now, when you so you film the movie, you go back to your normal life and everything. And then, you know, I'm sure over time, you got into doing, you know, other projects and just going about life. And then was it crazy to you when the conventions really started to happen and they were asking you to be a part of it? And then you go and you just see the fan base and the people that want to talk to you and want your picture and want an autograph. Like, how was that for you getting into that world and being like, wow, like people actually did love my character and like, this is a big deal?
It was crazy. It's crazy. Who knows? I mean, until you've been at a con like that, you don't know what it's like. And I mean that from either side, whether you're one of the guests, a vendor, or a celebrity. I put that in quotes for myself. It's sort of an experience like no other. You think you know what you're in for, and then you go and the first con I did, people were saying things like, I've waited my whole life to meet you, or I've never met a celebrity like you before. And I would say, like, I drive a Toyota. But someone pulled me aside and was like, you kind of have to play the part. And I have a hard balance with that. But for me, I just like to be sincere, and meeting people that care this much about something I did 32 years ago is so mind-blowing to me. And hey, if someone actually cares enough that they want to talk to me, by all means, let's talk, because that's why else do we do this then, if not to affect people and, reach out. And there's a subset of the world that no matter what I do, I could cure cancer tomorrow, I will still be Billy Hill from Halloween 5. And that's pretty flippin' awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
and
that's
it's
pretty great that people care that much. I will never shy away from it. I will never, say anything negative about it, because I'm so blessed. I could have ended up, for me, I was not a horror fan before this. So for me, I could have ended up in a rom-com. I could have ended up in any kind of movie. I happened to have ended up in one of the most iconic film franchises of all time. And people, as you know, people care. You look behind you. Look how many Halloween items you own.
Oh, they're all over on this bookshelf.
This is just the ones that you're displaying. That is awesome to me. That is so amazing to me that something that I did in my life matters at all to people. And that's it blows my mind. It blows my mind all the time.
Yeah.
I just sort of fell into this, and I'm so grateful for the fans, because the fans are amazing and so passionate.
And I'll tell you what, I mean it. And you ask anybody that knows me and my channel, I absolutely adore Halloween 5. I love that film inside and out. I always will. I have a very weird ranking. My top 3 are Halloween, the original, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and Halloween 5. So people are like,
what'd you think of 2018?
I enjoyed 2018. I think it's a super well-made movie. Is it my favorite? No. I miss the brother-sister storyline. There's certain things I miss, but it was a really good movie, and I've heard that Kills is even better. So, and that kind of leads me into what I was going to ask you next is obviously that, the answer normally anybody would say, oh yeah, of course I became a Halloween fan because of the movies. But like, do you follow up? Have you seen every film in the series? Is it something you keep your eye out for?
Again, as I said, I'm not the world's biggest horror fan, in terms of as an audience member. I never saw the Rob Zombie movies.
Okay.
I think I've seen all the others. I definitely saw 2018, and I loved it. I thought it was a really smart way to revitalize the franchise. I do miss the brother sister connection, but I also love that in the 2018 they referenced all the other storylines. So there is there's a Billy Hill reference. I don't know if you know about that.
No.
In 2018 there is a Billy Hill reference that I have heard the filmmakers say. There's a reference to all the other Halloweens in 2018.
Yeah.
And in an interview someone was like, I can't figure out the Halloween 5 reference. Where is that? And they said it's a reference to the little boy in Halloween 5 who, at that time, they were not allowed to kill me. And Halloween 5 famously got an X rating at the first pass. And the reasons given, or the reasons they figured out, were it was the injuries, I guess, inflicted on me and Danielle. So the car chase scene was originally much more brutal, and her getting stabbed in the leg was much more brutal. So when they pared that down, it got the R rating. So when they were making 2018, again, this is all what I heard, doesn't mean it's fact, but I read that in reputable sources. They said, all right, they couldn't kill a kid in Halloween 5. We're going to kill one in the new one, which is why the little boy gets murdered in 2018.
Yeah, I remember seeing that scene in the theater too and being like, wow, he just did that. That just happened.
And they said that was their Halloween. That was the making up for not being able to kill at the kids in Halloween 5.
Well, there you go, there you go, Jeffrey. That is their way of saying, hey, if we would have made Halloween 5, we would have killed Billy Hill.
You would have died horribly.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool.
I do want to, and it's on my list to do a rewatch of all 12 in order, or 11 that are out. And I have them all on Blu-ray. I have the latest Blu-ray set. I do want to sit down and watch them all.
Do you watch Halloween 5 every October?
Usually there is someone that wants to watch it with me.
Well,
Like,
now you're married now, right?
I am married.
Yeah. So okay. How does that work? Does your husband like does he I don't know, does he rib on you at all about, the
He's really
stutter or
not a horror
Billy?
fan.
Okay.
He's really not a horror fan. And he never watched Halloween 5 until like a week after we got married. I
Mhm.
was like, you got to see the movie.
Mhm.
Like we put it off. We got to see it. And he was like, it's not that bad. I'm like, no, it's not. It's an 80s number 5 horror movie. And he did watch 2018 with me. But we have I don't have as much accoutrement out as you do of the Halloween world, but I do have on my bookshelf, I have my box set, and next to it, I have, the Michael Myers Funko.
Yeah.
And I have a couple little things like that out and about, but come September, October, him and a lot of my friends will rib on me a lot,
Mhm.
but it's all good natured. It's all love.
Yeah.
It's weird since I moved to Los Angeles, and people don't see it until they experience, or don't believe it until they experience it, that I get recognized all the time.
Yeah.
Especially around Halloween. But it'll be something like a bartender will recognize my name on a credit card. Or I've literally had people come up to me out of the blue and say, "Excuse me, are you the little kid from Halloween 5?" And I love it. But
Does anybody ever ask you to do the stutter?
all the time.
Oh my
It's
Lord.
been, or they'll come up to me and just say Cookie Woman. I've actually, that's funny too. I've had people just walk up to me out of nowhere in like Target and just shout Cookie Woman at me, which is fine, except it's been 32 years and I was 11 years old then.
Mhm.
Like, to me, I look nothing the same. So for people to make that connection and Target on a Tuesday
Yeah.
is sort of like, wow, you're a fan. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean, like, wow, you made that connection, because I never would have.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at someone like Danielle, looks exactly the same. And people say I do.
I think you guys both have aged very well. I think, and I mean, you're only in your early 40s. Like, that's the crazy thing, is like, you were a kid when you made that movie, so you're not even old yet. Like, don't even worry, Jeffrey. You still have half of your life to be known as Billy Hill. Like,
but I love it. It's nice. It's also interesting when a colleague will say something like the day I meet them. I was recently at a work thing, and my boss, someone's assistant who was new hire, literally day one came up to me and was like, "I just have to tell you," and I know that look in the eyes, I know it. And he was like, "When I was going over the attendance for today's meeting and I saw your name, I was like, are you a Halloween fan?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, okay, I get it. But it becomes not weird. It becomes interesting when fans become part of my life. Like this person who is a colleague that's also a fan. I'm like, it's okay, but I'm still just, a person here to do a job.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Everyone's really, really wonderful and respectful. And it's just weird to say it, because the level of fame is absurd to me, because I'm not famous, but there are moments where there's a subset and I'm grateful for it. I love it. I'm very lucky that I don't have a problem, and I've not had any problems. I know other people have problems with fans getting too out of place, but I've not had that problems. I find the Halloween fans really, really wonderful and respectful, and I've heard that from everyone in the franchise.
We're a passionate bunch, but I would say overall, yeah, we are pretty good people.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, so kind of give me, oh my Lord, I totally forgot what I was going to ask you. Like, I
forgot where I was going with my last point.
Yes. So. If they do a 45 years of terror, would you want to go?
Of course. I went to 25, 30, 35, and 40. So yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
40 was my husband's first time at a con with me.
oh, okay.
And he's always wanted to go. So he went and he was like, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Sean Clark.
Mhm.
I had him on the channel, and I actually did another video with him last night, and we talked more about it. And he was basically like, they're going to do 45. He's like, whether I
Sure.
organize it or not, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I'll be there.
I've got to go. I've got to go. I went to South Pass last summer for the first time. I'd never been to California. It's where I want to live, by the way. Is San Diego area. But and I visited the filming locations, and now I want to make it to Salt Lake to see 4, 5, and 6. But yeah, it was beautiful, and I hope to be at 45. I'm going to make damn sure I'm there.
And then you stop by my booth, of course.
Oh, of course. Yes, absolutely. And be like, hey, remember that little rinky dink video we did on my channel? Like, no, you're, I just wanted to real quick, cause I'm not going to keep you all night. And, I really enjoy talking to you. But I wanted to ask you, give everybody really quick what you're up to right now. Like what's the life of Jeffrey Landman become?
Well, I've spent the last year on my couch.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm still, just like everyone else, working actor. I have been right after Halloween. I went back to New York and was working on and off Broadway my whole life since then. And I did a lot of recording as a kid. So I was in the recording studio a lot. And that was sort of my path, was going theater, and the recording industry is where I went. Now I'm just here auditioning, working. I currently serve on the national board of the Broadway Union, Actors Equity Association, and I serve on a couple committees with SAG. Mainly, a lot of my passion is advocacy for child actors and protection for child actors. Just little things. It's a whole different world that sometimes gets lost in showbiz, of what it's like to have been a child actor.
Yeah.
Well, so that said, it's a little bit of a political career, all coming from my showbiz life, and I'm really passionate about that. And I love being a part of the union politics and governance. And yeah, that's about it. I just bought a house. Thank you, Halloween 5, and yeah, I'd love to come back to the Halloween world. We'll see if there's a place for me in it. If not, I'll just, enjoy cons and see where the future takes me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I was going to say really quick, if you go to Google and you type in Jeffrey Landman on Google Images, you will get, it's obviously a bunch of Billy Hill, but the rest of it is, it's like a bunch of Broadway and stage productions that you've been a part of. And that's why I mention it, because I know that you really, I didn't know if you still did it, but I know that there was a period in your life where you were doing that a lot. And
sorry,
I know
I got distracted by Googling. That was bad. I shouldn't do that. I'm back now.
But yeah, and I know that there was a period in your life where you were doing that a lot. And I didn't know how much you still did it. But yeah, I mean, I was friends with you on Facebook for years. And that was another thing too. You were talking about how, you try to be genuine and everything. Guys, I've messaged Jeffrey many times before I even thought about doing this. He's always messaged me back. He's always been kind. He's always been gracious. He's never tried to big league me and been like, oh, well, I'm an actor and you're just a guy. So he means what he says. He is very genuine. But yeah, I mean,
I've always been, I never stopped performing. I just celebrated 33 years as a professional actor. I joined in the same month. I joined all the unions because I did the Broadway show and then the movie. So it was all right away. I was fully jumping in whole hog. Yeah. And I've always been performing my whole life. And I love it.
I think, again, it's so cliche to say this, but it's obviously your passion. So keep doing what you're passionate about. You just bought a house, so it can't be going poorly. I would, continue to do what you're doing because it's it's giving you a quality of life that you appreciate, and it's what you appreciate, and it's what you love to do. And I love to see that you're out there and you're working, and you're like you said, you're auditioning, like you are actively like, this is what I do. I love to do it. I'm going to keep doing it. I love to see that. I do, because you get a lot of actors, especially horror film actors, they get almost burnt out from the experience, and they want to step away entirely. So, it's nice to see that you're sticking to your showbiz roots. I really do enjoy that. Yeah. But look, I had a blast, Jeffrey. I really did. And by the way, when I hit end, it'll just end the recording part of it. And then, if I have any parting words or whatever, my laptop's almost about to die. It's about to die. So
don't die.
Yeah. But I really, really enjoyed it. I love the movie. I love the character.
I'm glad you do.
And
I'm glad you enjoy the movie. That's what we're here for. You
are a very, very kind person, very genuine person. And I really, really enjoyed having you on. And to all my subscribers, make sure you follow Jeffrey on social media. And like he said, he's willing to do interviews. So if any of you guys who have bigger channels than me would love to talk to a Halloween guy,
you know where to find me.
You know where to find him. Yep. So anyway, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. So thanks for watching, guys. And
thanks, everyone.
This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In and Jeffrey Landman. We're saying goodbye.